Bible English, new vocabulary. Allow, announce, disobey, each, enter, fear, firmly, forget, mention, passage, prepare, quote, sin, tremble, unbelief, vow, warning, wilderness. I'm finishing my word test. Hebrew 3rd, verse 12. Be careful then, dear brother and sister. Make sure that your own hearts are not evil and unbelieving, turning you away from the living God. You must warn each other every day, as long as it is called today, so that none of you will be deceived by sin and hardened against God. For if we are faithful to the end, trusting God just as firmly as when we first believed, we will share in all that belong to Christ. But never forget the warning. Today you must listen to his voice. Don't harden your heart against him, as Israel did when they rebelled. And who were those who rebelled against God, even though they heard his voice? Weren't they the one Moses led out of Egypt, and who made God angry for 40 years? Wasn't it the people who sinned whose body fell in the wilderness? And to whom was God speaking when he vowed that they would never enter his place of rest? He was speaking those who disobeyed him. So we see that they were not allowed to enter his rest because of their unbelief. Promised rest for God's people. God's promise of entering his place of rest still stands. So we ought to tremble with fear that some of you might fail to get there. For this good news that God has prepared a place of rest has been announced to us just as it was to them. But if it did them no good, because they didn't believe what God told them. For only we who believe can enter his place of rest. As for those who didn't believe, God said, in my anger I made a vow. They will never enter my place of rest, even though his place of rest has been ready since he made the world. We know it is ready because the scripture mentioned the seventh day, saying, on the seventh day of God rested from all his work. But in the other passage, God said, they will never enter my place of rest. So God's rest is there for people to enter, but those who firmly heard the good news failed to enter because they disobeyed God. So God sent another time for entering his place of rest, and the time is today. God announced this through David a long time later in words already quote, today you must listen to his voice. Don't harden your heart against him. This new place of rest was not the land of Canaan, where Joshua read them. So we should listen God's voice.